Welcome, fellow truth seekers, to our cosmic corner of the internet. Today we are honored to bring you a profound and transformative experience with the renowned Andromedan contactee, Alex Collier. But before diving into cosmic wisdom, we kindly ask you to lend your support. Please take a moment to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell icon for notifications. By doing so, you help us amplify Alex Collier's knowledge and reach a wider audience. Together, let's ignite the awakening of consciousness around the world. This video contains the entire 90-minute webinar number 46. Alex delves into several enlightening topics in this webinar, including being in observer mode while observing current affairs, disclosure, Cabal Control, white hats versus Cabal, extraterrestrial involvement, financial disruptions, false flags, personal empowerment, cosmic conflict, timeline merger, and much more. At the end of his monologue, Alex also answers questions from the audience.
We're going to be doing an overview of where everything is at, essentially in our solar system. And it's very important because there have been some real interesting moves in the last couple of weeks, and 2018 promises to be spectacularly bizarre. I mean, spectacularly bizarre. And so we're going to just get right into it. There is a stunning amount of information that is coming out. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things I constantly get emails about from people are, you know, when is there going to be disclosure? The United States government is never officially going to give you disclosure. They simply can't. They're not in control. They're being completely managed by an unseen government. And, you know, if you're looking for disclosure, you essentially have already gotten it. You've gotten it through the Disclosure Project, through other programs, through other astronauts talking about things, military people coming forward talking about what they know, the Chinese showing pictures of massive buildings that they've taken, that their satellites have taken pictures of, the constant disclosure of what we're seeing on Mars, the ruins and artifacts. You know, I find it fascinating. Everybody's waiting for the federal government to come forward and tell you, yeah, they exist, when all they've done is lie for 75, 85 years, pretty much about everything. Okay, so we need to raise our standards. We really do. Just know for a fact that that we're not alone. This is actually happening. All you have to do is watch the live feeds from NASA coming from the International Space Station. And anytime anything that is not a satellite enters the picture, whether it's one of our Black Project ships, our alien replicated vehicles, our ARVs, or an actual extraterrestrial craft, they shut down the video. Okay? If you can't figure that out, you need to get the crayons out. I'm sorry. I'm just so frustrated with people who refuse to see what's in front of them. And that is a lot of what we're going to be talking about today. Okay? This particular webinar is in three sections. We're going to be talking about the terrestrial and non-terrestrial cabal. We're going to be talking about Terran governments, Earth governments, that are in fact moving to the light, working in association with white hats and the intervention of benevolent, non-terrestrial, extraterrestrial races. Okay? That as this all comes together, but there are things happening specifically here on the Earth. And I want all of you to have your wits about you here. Hence the topic, being the observer. It's very, very important to not buy into the media drama, because it's crap. Okay, the terrestrial, non-terrestrial cabal own all these people. They own them lock, stock, and barrel. They own the companies. They own the narrative. They have been brainwashing you, me, everyone for years. And you have to keep that in perspective. You have to, okay? 8 out of 10 times to say this is black, it's actually white. You just need to be aware of that. Now, of course, you're all going to do what you want to do, and I get that. But my position is to give you as much information as possible and as much data as possible, as I fully understand it. Now, if I didn't trust my source, I wouldn't be doing this, okay? I just simply wouldn't be doing this. But I keep coming back every 2 weeks because I do, and because I really care what happens to us. And I know that we are this close to flipping this thing into the light. We really are. And I have an obligation to the people that I love and I care about to do everything I can to help flip this thing, to keep it moving, keep the progression moving towards the light. Because the alternative is a disaster. And it's a disaster for everyone except the non-terrestrial, terrestrial cabal. And we just can't let them win. We just simply cannot allow it. Not at all. So here we go. Look, if you're paying attention to alternate news sources, you know that the pedophilia rings are being exposed, the criminality within governments is being exposed, the suppression of the feminine principle is being exposed. And if you're really paying attention, you know that there is more and more information coming out regarding extraterrestrials and what's going on in our solar system. There are incredible videos that are being posted on YouTube regarding Nibiru and its moons, what they're finding on Mars, information regarding the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, the things that are going on with Saturn in connection to CERN. Okay, there is a lot of information. And it may seem to you that it's very dysfunctional and detached and just separated out, but in fact it's not. The purpose for them sharing the information they do is to simply overwhelm you and have you just say, I'll get to it. And then of course you never do. Because all of our lives are so busy and we are overwhelmed, many are overwhelmed, trying to make ends meet, to make the bills, to make sure the kids are fine, to just survive, okay? Again, this has all been done on purpose, to wear us down. The cabal, the terrestrial and non-terrestrial cabal, they're in a panic right now. And the reason they're in a panic is that their plan that they had set up from last year to 2030, where they were going to go through all these steps and the end result was going to be the tagging of every human being with a microchip, okay, and a digital one world currency. Or another word for that is global slavery. That's where this was all going. And they had this timeline. Saudi Arabia has openly talked about this specific timeline between now and 2030. That is not long from now, okay? It's 12 years. Well, because of the movement to create an entirely new currency system, to create an entirely new banking system by other countries wanting to separate from the central bank system that is in place today, that has been controlling and manipulating not only the citizens of the world, but the governments of the world. Because the only thing these central banks produce is debt. That's it. They sell debt. And if these countries buy the debt, they're screwed. Okay? Now what's interesting, and what's interesting is that there were only 3 countries that didn't have a central bank that was owned by the Rothschild banking system. That was North Korea, Syria, and Iran. Now, isn't it interesting that those 3 are on the hit list? They're on the hit parade as we speak, okay? Those are the only 3 countries. Now, Russia has stepped in to help Syria. And Russia is really not so much the enemy here. Okay, we're all actually fighting the same enemy. The issue is, who in government do you trust? Because there are white hats, and then there are those who are bought and paid for, who have committed heinous crimes against children and women, who are absolutely being controlled and blamed by the cabal to continue to do their dirty work. So they're locked in, they're trapped in a situation of their own making. So, but the white hats are actually winning. The white hats, in many respects, are getting a lot of help and assistance from people who are considered black hats, because they now realize what the end game is. And the end game was the depopulation of the planet by 90%. Their names are not on the list for the underground bases. Their families' names are not on the list for the underground bases. Okay, so hence the dilemma that they find themselves in. What's now happening with the cabal, and I'm referring to the dark cabal, is because these other countries are now talking about nationalizing, federalizing their central banks, because they're talking about revaluing their currency and going to a asset-based currency system and not a fiat-based system, which is what we've been living with since 1930. Well, officially since 1970, since the US has been off the gold standard, or 71. What's happening now, and the pressure that they're getting, is they now realize that if they lose the monetary system, if they lose control of the monetary system, they're essentially done. Now, the Trump administration asked the IMF to do an audit of United States dollars and/or currency, or US dollar contracts, that are in existence in the world today. The IMF came back with a figure of $100 trillion. Now that's a staggering amount of money. Now you're saying, well, how is that possible? The federal government's only $20 billion and $20 trillion in debt, plus the unfunded liabilities that it has. The number represents the fact that the Federal Reserve in this country, in the United States, cannot be audited, can't be managed, and there is absolutely no oversight by the official government, the duly elected government of the United States. They essentially do whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want. I am sure within that $100 trillion represents the black space program and everything that's going on. Now, globally, the entire debt of the entire planet to the central bank system is $653 trillion. Now, what's staggering about that number is that that's exactly the net worth of the Rothschild Cabal family. Okay? I'm sure it's a coincidence. Now, what's happening is these governments are breaking away. They are creating up their own system. China and Russia have created their own SWIFT system, and the SWIFT banking system is where transfers are done internationally, and they use the system almost every day. It's international transfers are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, but almost everyone uses the SWIFT system to move money around bank account to bank account, bank to bank, corporate to corporate, etc. Well, a false flag is coming. And the purpose of the false flag is that the cabal, the dark cabal, has to get ahead of this new financial system. Because if they don't, they're toast. And they know it. Because the walls are coming down on top of them. And the only trump card they have left, literally, is the financial system. That is how they control countries and governments. And so they have to get ahead of this thing. And what they're going to do is they're going to create a false flag. Now, inside the SWIFT system, there are backdoors. These backdoors have been there for years and years and years. The banking consortium itself put in these backdoors. And occasionally what they'll do is they'll take a very minuscule percentage of a transfer and it will just disappear. And it will just disappear. And it got so regular that it became basically the cost of business. And now what they're going to do is the dark cabal is they're going to blame either Iran, North Korea, I hardly doubt it's going to be Syria, but Iran or North Korea for hacking into the SWIFT system and stealing trillions of dollars. It's the banking industry itself that's been doing this. It's the cabal itself that's been doing this. But they have no other choice. So what they're going to do is they're going to create a false flag. They're going to be declaring a bank holiday throughout most of the world, certainly here in the United States. Okay, it may go a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. No one actually knows for sure, where you will not be able to pull money out of your ATM or your bank account. Of course, causing mass panic because everybody's living paycheck to paycheck. And this is what they're going to do. And then what they're going to pretend to do then is come up with a solution for a new banking system. And this new banking system is going to be based on the blockchain internet. And you can research that. I don't even want to get into that portion of it, but that's essentially what they're going to do. They're going to say they have a fix for it. And the whole thing's a fix. Okay, it's been rigged and fixed against us from the get-go. And this new system is even worse. But what they want to do is they're going to try to implement this program, shove it down everybody's throat, and before the rest of the world's countries have positioned themselves to get enough assets to back their own currencies so that they can withdraw from the central bank system. Okay, so it's a race to the bottom here, essentially. And this is coming. This is coming very quickly. I've been told that, and I've also been able to get verification of this, that several governmental agencies here in the United States that essentially don't listen to the current administration, they're just doing their own thing. They have been told to tell their military contractors, their Department of Defense contractors, to be prepared to come into the U.S. or to move into the United States across the U.S. because of a domestic disturbance. Now, key operative word here in the United States, is contractors. Contractors are not loyal to the United States of America. Contractors are not loyal to the citizens of the United States. Contractors are not even loyal to the military of the United States. They are only loyal to their board of directors because they're private companies. And that's who's being told to prepare for civil disturbance, civil disobedience in the United States. So, all the elements are there, and they're trying to rush us through. The end result is they're going to rush in and try to establish a cashless society between now and February of 2019. That's their goal. That's the only way they can get ahead of this thing. I don't believe that they're actually going to be able to pull this off because there's so much resistance. And the more and more things come out that the press doesn't say, but the citizens find out about, it's going to be stunning. For example, here's one little golden nugget that the mainstream media has failed to talk about. The campaign manager, one of the campaign managers for John McCain, was arrested in Pueblo, Colorado for pedophilia and child rape. Have you heard anything about this? No, of course you haven't. Not a word, okay? Because they're all trying to protect each other. And the Los Angeles Police Department has set up an entire organization to do the investigation of 28 kingpin people. Now, all the people that you've heard about so far, guys, these are the underlings, okay? These are the underlings. As it gets higher and everybody starts turning on each other in order to save their own butts, what's going to happen is as we get to the very top tier and we start getting into the banking system, all right, and those people start dropping like dominoes for their crimes against humanity, both children, women, society as a whole, in creating wars and famine, etc., arming terrorism. As those dominoes start to fall, then we're going to start getting into the real linchpins, the people who really move the planet, who really control the planet. Now, some of them are terrestrial, they're Earth people, but you've never heard of them before. And then we get into the Nephilim group, okay, the sons of the Anunnaki who were left here, who have lifespans of thousands of years, who have been running the show at the very top, okay? That's when it's going to get really, really interesting. And know that this is coming. And the reason it's coming is because of the pressure. You have the White Hats going after and flipping over all the stones, looking for all the bad guys. And they are. And the White Hats are getting stronger and stronger because their ranks, people who have been afraid for years, who have kept their heads down, are now picking their heads up. They're now putting on their warrior armor and they're stepping forward. They're now joining the White Hats because, again, they know the end game. And the end game was the elimination of 90% of the world's population. That's just absolutely unacceptable. And it isn't going to happen. Now, as these White Hats keep flipping over the stones and they get stronger, more and more information will be coming out. The alternative media will eventually become the mainstream media. As these media corporations start to take a dump, take a dive, get shut down, or just become absolutely irrelevant as their lies and criminality become more and more exposed. And their hypocrisy, not to mention the least. Now, at the top of this situation, you have the benevolence. Now, you have non-terrestrial benevolence, boots on the ground. Okay, they're walking around looking like us, somewhat acting like us, keeping away, tucked away, but they are moving in very specific ways to make sure that certain events happen. Because many of them are privy to future events and things that have occurred in the future. So they're here to make sure that whatever that future was that created tyranny doesn't happen. So they all have the blueprint. Okay, they have They have the blueprint of what happened the last time, and they know how not to make sure it doesn't happen again. And that involves many different things: the spiritual upliftment of humanity, the healing of the human body from genetic manipulation. It just goes on and on and on and on. Now, the boots on the ground are very specifically moving in a very specific way. And I want you to understand something. They're everywhere. They're in virtually every single country. And there is a video on YouTube that I would like all of you, if you get the chance, to watch. And the title of it is 10 Teleportations Caught Live. And I want you to specifically watch that, because two things are happening there that have been caught there. One is you're seeing the merging of the timelines, okay? And I've said this before, the last two timelines that have to be merged before we can begin the process of locking in an ascension pattern or an ascension protocol. Those two timelines are being merged. And on this video, you will see vehicles coming out of nowhere, because the two timelines, even though in many respects they're parallel, the timing is off on each one. So things don't happen exactly at the same time or in exactly the same way. Well, this video gives you a lot of things to think about. It also shows you people that appear to be human beings who, for whatever reason, are exposed, walking on a sidewalk. Somebody will point out, say, "Hey, who are you? You're not one of us." And he just takes a few steps and then he's gone. Okay? Anyway, watch it. These aren't doctored films. These are taken from surveillance cameras and security cameras all over the world. When you look at this, you have to be amazed that the mainstream media isn't really doing its job in sharing this. And that's because they don't want you to know anything. Their sole purpose is to keep you ignorant and keep you in fear. And you simply cannot go to them and rely on them for information. Maybe the weather. I would probably trust them with the weather, and that's about it. Okay? But they're not reporting on the extreme weather and things that are happening in the sky either. Okay? And again, those things are being reported and being documented on YouTube by people all over the planet with their phones, with their video cameras, with their security cams, etc. So the alternative media will eventually become the mainstream media, probably by the end of next year. Or at least you will absolutely see the movement. Now, what's happening in the solar system? Solar system is absolutely in full lockdown. Nothing's getting in, nothing's getting out. CERN is having a very difficult time. They keep trying to open portals, not so much to let things in, even though that's part of their agenda, but it's also to try to let things get out. That simply isn't going to happen. The portal may open, but at the very end of the portal, there is a starship that belongs to benevolent forces, and whoever goes through it isn't going anywhere. They're toast. So, they were offered an opportunity to leave, and they simply chose not to. So now, this whole thing is coming down on the terrestrial, non-terrestrial cabal. But understand that the cabal, the dark side, yields enormous control still through the printing and owning of the world's currencies through central banks. They also, have created all kinds of wars, but everybody's sort of pretty hip to that, okay? Now, as far as the United States starting a war with North Korea, it's a no-win situation for everybody because we would have to send in ground troops, and that's a no-win scenario for everybody. China has told North Korea that as long as you don't shoot first, we will back you. So now we have to watch for a false flag. And really the only two countries that aren't truly nuclear yet that are on the Cabal's hit list is Iran and North Korea. So we have to pay attention to what's really going on there. And I'm not, what we need to do, all of us, is we need to stop gathering information from the outside. It is absolutely time to learn to trust yourself and gather information from the inside. A lot of people are afraid of what's inside of themselves. I don't know why. I don't know if it's Catholicism, the religions. I don't know if it's a school system saying, you can't trust yourself. I don't know if it's science saying we're all an accident in a pool of chemicals. I don't know if it's society as a whole, through brainwashing, through television, that says we're not worthy. I don't know. I don't really know how to nail that one down. But a lot of people are afraid of what actually is within inside themselves. And you shouldn't be. You absolutely shouldn't be. Because that's the only place you are truly going to find what it is that you need, that inner strength that makes you want to stand up and do the right thing, that makes you stand up and want to protect your family, that makes you call bullshit bullshit, okay? To be the warrior, to be the warrioress, to be the knight. That all comes from the inside. A faith in, not only all that is, but a faith in yourself that beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are not just your body. And the only place you're going to get those answers are inside yourself. And there is no one way to get that. There are, how many people on the planet? 8 billion? Or at least 8 billion different ways to do it. Okay? And if you need mentoringship to get you to a specific place, for you to then, be that person, to go inside yourself and learn to trust what you're being told, the information you're getting, then great. However you have to do it, the actual time to do that is really now. Because I get a lot of letters from kids. And they're all scared. They're all terrified. They all want to leave. They're so scared. And what's happening, and I had to ask Mornay about this. What's happening is that their entire focus of their being, of their personality, is on the outside. It's on technology. It's on external stimulation such as television, music, shopping malls, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, all this stuff, all this outside stuff, their phones. That's how they identify themselves, is with the technology. It's almost as if they're being led into an AI mainframe, which is, there's probably some truth to that, and we'll get to that here in a couple minutes. It's as if they're all being led into this AI mainstream that is telling them what to do, who to be, and is just demanding their attention all the time. And then what happens is, this usually occurs at night, when everything is shut down and it's really, really quiet, they feel empty. Because they are empty. Because they're not nurturing or listening to their soul. Okay? They're not listening, they're not connecting in many respects to their heart in a soulful, spiritual way. The only way you're going to know and feel authentic strength from within is from the heart. The heart is always going to be wiser than your head's ever going to be. Ever. And that's a challenge for a lot of people. You know, trusting love, trusting the heart, because we've been hurt, we've been wounded, we've been disappointed, we've been let down. But ladies and gentlemen, consciousness is not in the head. Okay, consciousness is in your energetic field. And your energetic field is fed from the heart. That's the seat of the soul. Sometimes the hardest people to love in our lives are the ones who need it the most. I know this intimately myself. Okay? The hardest people to love in our lives are the ones who need it the most. The love that we withhold is the pain that we carry, lifetime after lifetime. And that does not specifically relegate it to just ourselves. It means everyone and everything, okay? There are no ordinary moments in life. And I'm bringing this up for a reason, which I'll tell you here in a minute. Many of us, I truly believe that we all live two lifetimes. We all live two lives. The life we learn with, and then the life we live with after that, with the wisdom and the knowledge. And in many respects, they couldn't be more different. But that's what it is, okay? Earth, the school of Earth, the school of physicality, thank you, Visayas, is not about the destination. It's about the journey. It is all about the journey, okay? It isn't about getting to fifth density. If you think getting to fifth density and ascending to fifth density, you can take a vacation and like, man, I'm done. I'm good, I'm done. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. That is not the end. Your journey is just beginning in a completely different way. Okay? This is what it is. It's about evolving consciously and spiritually. And we all signed up for this. We have. Many of us have been very, very sloppy with our lives. Okay? And there is a point where you get to a place of reflection, of voluntary introspection, where you can look back and say, you know, damn, I took a lot of things for granted. And we all do that. We do that with relationships, with loved ones, with pets, with our jobs, with most everything. When you get into that place of taking something or anyone for granted, you're no longer in the present. You're not in the now. You're in the future. And folks, the future doesn't exist yet. All you have is what's right now. Okay? And I'm bringing a lot of this up because there are younger people reaching out for answers. And for those of us who have been through this, who have made the colossal mistakes, who have dedicated a portion of their life to figuring it out and trying to get it right, and to pass down that knowledge to loved ones. We have a responsibility because, like I've said several webinars ago, we are all forefathers. We are all foremothers. Okay, we are all blazing a trail for those who follow us, and we have a responsibility, an obligation more than anything, to not only leave the wisdom, but maybe, you know, drop the crumbs of a trail and say, look, there is a way this way to get to where you need or to get your answers. Because they're never, ever going to get this information from governments. And frankly, it was never meant for governments to do this. The governments were never meant to become the parent. Never. And whoever thought that up and agreed to that is nuts. They can't even run themselves. As we observe what's happening on the planet today, understand that the collapse of what we see in Catholicisms, and it's coming, the Catholic Church will be the first to drop, the government's unraveling, the banking system unraveling, what appears to be society unraveling. This all has to fall away because none of it's real. None of it was ever built or created from a place of heart or a place of integrity. It was all built and created through control, manipulation, and fear. That's what it was all about. Okay, it was created to imprison everyone. It has to fall away. It just has to. So as you are sitting back and you see these things happening, don't forget to breathe. Understand that there is movement, benevolent movement underneath it, forcing all of this out of the shadows to be visible in front of everyone, so that everyone will know what it truly is, what it truly represents, and how everyone was hoodwinked into it. Because the only way we are going to evolve spiritually is to be free. We have to be free. Prisoners don't spiritually evolve. Slaves don't spiritually evolve. Free people evolve. This has to happen. So try not to buy into it. There are a lot of things people can do. As far as this false flag, you can put some cash aside. You can fill your pantry. okay? Or do the best you can. And I'm sharing this with you. It's my opinion. You need to do this ASAP. Okay, you need to make sure your pantry is filled, that you have at least the basics for at least a month. Okay? You do. Better safe than sorry. You know, the old Boy Scout motto, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. Okay? This way you don't worry. This way you don't get into fear because you're prepared. And that allows you to be the observer. So think ahead here. Prepare yourself. The worst case scenario is the benevolents come in and do an end around and jack these guys up, but you still got the food and you're still going to eat it. You know, you're still going to eat it. The kids are going to eat it. I mean, you can never go wrong buying food, ever, especially canned goods, storage foods, etc. Don't give up on your dreams either. Continue to focus on whatever your dream is. You don't give up the things that you love, okay? Because you find love in what it is that you do. You just have to be clear about what it is that is. And again, you have to trust. You have to go inside yourselves. You're not going to get your answers outside yourself. You're just not, okay? Your heart is always going to be wiser than your head. And most of us have a lot of trash up here. Woulda, coulda, shouldas, things everybody said, people's opinions of you, none of it matters. None of it matters. What matters is what you think about you, because that's where your empowerment comes from. And that's where we need you. We need you to be self-empowered, to push for freedom, to take the stand against what's coming, because this is it. We're now in the window, okay, of ending thousands of years of slavery of humanity. We're there. You know, for some people, they're just not going to do anything until they see a mothership in the sky. And then it's probably going to be too late. And it'll definitely be an oh shit moment for all of them. But for those of us, it's like, okay, it's just confirmation. But we've already made the steps. And that's what you guys need. That's what I'm hoping everyone will do. That you will begin to really see what's happening here. I mean, I'm just one guy. I can only do this. This is all I can do to help at the moment. Okay? To you young people, life's a mystery. Why things happen, why things don't happen, we don't always figure that out. Some people do, most of us don't. Is that really the most important thing? No, it's not. The most important thing is focusing on your heart, focusing on what your heart tells you to do, whether it makes absolutely no sense at all, and I so get that, okay? But at the end of it, there's always a reason, and clarity usually does come, okay? Especially with the heart. Always have a sense of humor regarding yourself. Never lose a sense of humor. Just trust me, you're going to need it. Okay? And having a sense of humor is a strength beyond measure. It really, really is. It's important. Because if you can find humor even in the darkest moments, you flood it with light, because humor is joy. Humor is light, okay? And you want to keep your vibration high. You want to keep the frequency high. And that's what it's all about. The frequency is changing. It isn't going to dip down. There is literally no stopping this movement, but you have to participate in it. And I'm not saying you have to go out and lecture and do this, do webinars. You can do whatever you want, but you have to participate. You have to be in the moment here to know what's going on, to participate and to contribute to this shift of all of humanity. Science says that they can prove that genetic memories are passed down to at least 14 generations. Okay, 14 generations. Imagine if you are truly engaged in participating in the liberation of humanity, so that we as a race, all of us as a single race, can make the decision to evolve and leave third density for fourth density, for fifth density, and wherever it goes after that. Imagine the memories you can pass down to your loved ones through your participation in this moment. Why would you not want to do that? Why would you not want to leave them a legacy of what you went through, what you're doing now? Why wouldn't you want to do that? And if you haven't thought about that, please start thinking about that. Because you do matter. You do care. Okay? The only reason you're empty is because your focus has been on the wrong place. Your focus has been outside you. Outside you is only a perception of what the world sees. Okay? What they don't see is who you are inside. But what's even more important with that is that you recognize what's on the inside. You've got to. Are you going to have somebody else tell you what you are on the inside? Is that your gig? Is that how that works for you? Because you don't trust it, you won't believe it? Where's your strength? Where is your personal strength? You have to find that. Remember, nothing ever stays the same. Things change all the time. Sometimes drastically, sometimes a little bit at a time. But nothing stays the same. And the world we live in right now, 5 years from now, you may not even recognize it. 3 years from now, you may not even recognize it. 2 years, your personal life, you may not even recognize it. Nothing stays the same. And that's because it's all about the journey. It's not about the destination. I've gotten a lot of emails about a timeline for Ascension. The only answer that I've been given is that this will not happen in my lifetime. My lifetime. So I don't know if I have weeks, months, years. I don't know what that number is, what that day is. But what I leave for you is this. This is my way of helping, of trying to contribute. Is, to be your biggest cheerleader. And I am your biggest cheerleader. Because I know how tough it is down here. Oh God, do I know. And every day we get up and we fight and we scratch and we claw, and many of us don't give up, and we continue to fight and give up to try to make the world a better place against incredible odds, against technology and artificial intelligence and extraterrestrial beings who outthink us pretty much every step of the way because their agenda is just to be pricks. You know, you just, and then to stand in the presence of another race who looks down at us and, you know, despite all our faults, sees such promise and sees such beauty in our art, in our music, in the way we come together in a catastrophe. You know, it's been a privilege. It's absolutely been a privilege. Okay, JP, why don't you start pushing some buttons and we'll get to some questions.
All right. So the first thing, there's two questions that are kind of interlinked. One from Lauren, one from Penny. Penny, very appropriate. So they're both asking about Bitcoin. Penny's asking, is Bitcoin where they would be going to, and would it be wise to get invested? And Lauren is saying, some say that Bitcoin was created by the CIA as a precursor to a one world currency. Others say the elite are pissed that they don't control it. Do you have an opinion or any insider information about
Here's
Bitcoin?
my take on Bitcoin. I don't believe the CIA created it. I believe it's unique. I think it's different. It's an unrestricted and unmanipulated piece of value. I think the central banks and even the cabal think it's probably a brilliant idea, and I can't imagine that they would be totally against it. I think that I would have loved to have gotten into it early had I had the wherewithal. I would have loved to have done it. I think it's going to go a little bit higher because the movement is towards freedom. It is towards, it's the movement that's moving forward is about liberty and expansion. I mean, just look at what's happening with the feminine principle now on planet Earth. You know, after thousands and thousands of years of being suppressed by the masculine energy, we begin to now see the feminine principle flex its arms, stand up, and saying, yo, enough of this bullshit. And it's welcome. It's absolutely welcome. Humanity, the planet, has been out of balance for a very, very, very long time. And the only way it's going to come into balance is if both principles are equal to each other. And we're beginning to see the feminine, you know, begin to take back its power. Now it may swing quite a bit the other way before it starts to settle back into a place of balance. That's understandable. The male principle just needs to be patient, and the male principle needs to behave itself, because primarily the male principle is the cause for a great deal of sorrows and the woes of the world because it's been so out of balance. So, Bitcoin, I think it's fascinating. And we'll see where it goes. You know, we'll see where it goes. Again, it's an amazing journey that it's on. So we'll see.
from Ray Marsilio. What is the best thing or things or what we can do to make progress with this complicated process? See, this is quite near the beginning. I suppose, how do we, what,
What
I mean,
are some of the things
beginner,
you do
sort of beginner
with
levels,
this
I think.
complicated process? Say that one more time.
He's obviously not speaking in English. So, what is the best thing we can do to make progress with this complicated process? And I'm not sure exactly what process he's speaking about, and maybe you are.
Okay, well then I'll make an assumption, which I don't like to do. I'll make an assumption that he's referring to
Go ahead.
with Earth, the whole thing. The biggest impact you can have is with your own personal self and your own personal space. Now, inside your space, you have loved ones, you have family of some sort, you have friends maybe that you, that you consider family, co-workers maybe that you consider family, pets, animals that you consider family. You have to strengthen your legs. You have to help yourself before you can help anyone else. Because if you're not strong, no one can lean on you. So you have to be strong. You have to be very clear about what it is that you know yourself. And you can only know that by truly going within. Now, if you already know this, and you should be here doing the webinar instead of me, then what you need to do is stop gathering information and sharing information and living the information. Okay, so many people just gather information. When I did the dog and pony show in the 90s, the circuits, you want to know why I was weaning it off before I got approached and told to shut the F up? It's because it was always the same faces. And all they would do, they wouldn't even look up. They would just sit there with their notepads, writing down everything that was being said by me, Greg Braden, Wendell Stevens, Al Bielek, by so many of us. That's what they did. They gathered and wrote information. And I know for a fact they all didn't work for the CIA, okay, or the intelligence agencies. It's just people get used to collecting information and they store it here, but it never gets from here to the heart. And what good is the information then if you can't incorporate it into something that's passionate, that fills your life with purpose? And that only comes from the heart. That doesn't come from your head. An idea may come from your head, but the passion to make it happen, that comes from the heart. And that's where you gotta be right now. That's what this is all about. The feminine principle is the heart. Okay? I don't know how to stress this anymore, and we're gonna be talking more and more about this. As this progresses. Whoever asked this question, there's a part of me that thinks you already know the answer. Okay? That you already know the answer. And you need to do more and stop asking more. You need to do more. Okay? And stop asking outside of yourself. That's my opinion. Okay, JP. Okay, JP.
So from Penny Newman, carrying on from that, how do we gather information from the inside? Can you recommend a technique to practice to achieve this? Specifics, what exactly to do and how often? And so, yeah. Or maybe what do you do? Or
Okay, that's a good question. I love the quiet. I'm not afraid to be in silence. And I find that in many different places. I gather information, like many of you do. I get it from M, other contactees. We talk, we share information. Those who don't want to come forward because their legs aren't strong enough yet. But what we do is we take that information and we drop it from the head into the seat of the heart. Okay? That's where we go with it. Science proves that your mind is wired, your brain is wired to see 7 to 9 different dimensions. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is not in our DNA. That is not a genetic coded thing. That's the soul. When you came into the physical body at conception, or whenever that moment truly is, and your soul seated itself into the heart of the baby, and you took responsibility to come in here, that imprint was made on the physical body. So your soul already can see 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. In some cases, 8, 9. It's already there. A part of you knows already what's going down here and why it's going down. Part of you already knows the knowledge that you need, the wisdom that you already have inside of you to give you your answers, to take you in the direction where you may want to go, you do want to go, and how to get there. You already know. You just have to figure out a way to get to that place inside of you. And no one can do that but you. There's no guru. There's no drug that's going to take you there. It's already there. It's already there. You have to somehow get rid of all the trash and the junk that's in here so that you can listen to what's in your heart. Maybe not all of you, but a lot of us. That's the key here. Allow the heart to talk. Physicality in other dimensions is not linear. Time is not the same. Do you understand? It's not like you have to go from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. It is not that that everything happens in fourth and fifth and sixth density the way it happens here, in sequence, okay, on a time level. No, that is not how it happens. Those are one of the constructs that we need mentoring with so we can let go, is our concept of time. Some of you have come back in time to right a terrible wrong. That means you're already in the future and you came back here. So you already know. You already know up there because you were just there before you came in, probably in this lifetime. So you already know. How can you extract that information from the future to the now? How can you bring it to you? Now. You only have one gateway. You have one gateway, you have one portal right now where that information is available to you. That's the heart. That's the heart. Maybe you'll do it a different way. Maybe you'll figure it out in a different way. And if you do, and you have the results and you know them to be authentic, then share it. Share it with everyone. The more we talk to each other, the more vulnerable we are with each other, the more trust we create with each other. And trust builds love, it builds mutual respect, and it builds freedom. Because then we start watching each other's back. It's very intuitive. It's very natural that those who we care about, we watch and we take care of. And we try to watch their back. That is something humanity has not done for a very, very long time. And that's trust each other and watch each other's back. You know, we've all been given this full court press to not trust one another. And that hasn't worked, has it? No, it hasn't. The results of that are everywhere. And the pain and the dysfunction that's created is staggering. It's staggering. To the point now that we have a generation of kids, the millennials, who think socialism is the way to go. There have been polls taken all over the world, and a majority of them think socialism is the way to go. Because it doesn't force them to do anything. It doesn't force them to be out of themselves. All they have to do is what's necessary to just maintain. There's no growth there. Absolutely no growth. That's a self-imposed prison to a system, socialism, that has never worked, ever, anywhere. But that's the way they think we have to go. Because that's the way they're going to feel safe. Enslaving themselves is how they feel that they're going to be safe. I mean, you can't make this shit up. You just can't. It's crazy. So, Penny, that's my answer. That's my answer.
Okay, from the third dimension to the fourth. From Cliff Mosier and Sylvia Toshi, we're sharing, just one adjacent question. Since the solar system is on lockdown and fourth density is being compressed right now to deal with the negative ETs, is this causing it to be more difficult to have out-of-body experiences right now? And Sylvia is asking, during out-of-body experiences, in which density do we go? So they're kind of this is the same ballpark kind of questions there.
Ms. Tucci, that is a great question. Everything is frequency. Everything. Everything is frequency. The higher your frequency, the more freedom you have. Okay? The further you can go, the higher your frequency. Now, are some people having a hard time traveling out of body? Yes, some people are. And my understanding is that the reason they're having a hard time is their knowledge of the traps, the dark traps, the regressive traps out there. They're not savvy enough to stay away from those things, or their frequency is such that they could be very easily lured into a place voluntarily that they can't get out of. And these are areas that are being shut down, literally being starved, because you have to remember that the dark feeds off the light. Okay? You have to remember that. And they're being starved out now. And that's the whole goal here, is to starve them out. They don't want us naively walking or flying into an area or a space where we can't get out of, especially if you voluntarily do. That's number one. Number two, many people are moving into fourth density when they have their dreams of being in a classroom or being on a starship or being on what appears to be a field trip on another planet. That is them traveling out of body with a group soul, and it's important that probably when you are in those, that you pay attention to the people that you're with, because this is probably the soul group you came in with, that you are now being educated or re-educated or debriefed or briefed, however you want to look at this, into what's coming up and what your future roles are going to be as far as assisting humanity. Some are actually able to travel into fifth. My understanding is that fifth is about the highest any of us now can go, because it's very, very difficult to raise our frequency beyond that with all the physical limitations that our DNA has been put through. That apparently is going to be changing, but the frequency needs to be a little bit higher. And so does the consciousness, the self-awareness, the self-knowledge about what it is that we're actually doing, because it's all about frequency. And many of us rarely think about that. We really do. So that's a really good question. Thank you for asking that.
All right. Okay. So you've really bummed everybody out now. All right. So Penny Newman saying you said
why is that a bummed out thing?
No, check this out. You said Ascension won't happen in your lifetime. Have that mean that we won't go to fourth or fifth density in your lifetime? And also Mark is saying, if we don't live long enough to make it to Ascension, do we have to come back? Tell me no, please.
No, I don't understand. I don't believe we're coming back. No. And Mornay answered the question specifically, my lifetime. Folks, I could be dead in a week. Okay? It was my lifetime. Not your lifetime, my lifetime. Me personally. Okay?
Very specific.
Clear about that. Let's be absolutely clear about that. It is my lifetime. Okay? Not yours, mine. Thanks for thinking I'm going to live to be 120. I love that idea. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. So.
Okay.
But no, when it ascends, when humanity ascends, you're going to be given a choice whether you can want to come back to humanity or if you want to go to your own star race. I mean, let's get real here. This is all about freedom. Okay, this is all about liberation of humanity. That doesn't mean you have to come back. You understand? You will have choices. You will have choices. Got to think bigger now. Come on, guys. Open the window. Open the window. 7th densities, 9th density. Come on, open the window. It isn't just about 3rd density. Come on. No, no, no. You know, this was a mission. This was a stop along the way. This was a mission. Okay? And when humanity is freed, the mission is complete. So, and we've got the dark side on the run. Okay, the dark side is absolutely on the run. They're panicking. They're scrambling. They're trying to take a 12-year program and pound it into a 13, 14-month window. That should tell you everything. Okay, come on, guys. Come on. Okay, JP, we have, according to my clock, we have about 6 minutes.
6 minutes. Okay. 2 questions on blood. Any info on AB negative? Any info on O negative? And what about A positive? You know, I got this thing, you know, I'm A positive, right? And everybody's going, oh, star seeds, blah, 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 blah. You know, do you know anything about the blood type thing?
I don't. I don't. I've heard all those same things. I've heard all those same things. I don't have any hard evidence one way or the other. I'm O negative, but even if I was AB positive, I would have to think that I'm still the same soul, the same person. So no, I don't know. Other than being a universal donor, you know, that seems to be, you know, the only benefit that I have derived from being O negative is being able to donate blood to anybody who needs it. So, but I'm limited to O negative myself. So that's all I know. I haven't really focused on that part of it all. I'm sure that if it was really, really significant, it would have been brought to my attention by Visayas and or Monet. But it's just never come up.
Yeah.
So
I've always thought it was a bit of a distraction myself. From Alaria 11, did Morinay ever say how to stop the kids from being sucked into the AI mainframe?
no, but that's a conversation we're definitely going to have very soon, that I know. It's very easy to get pulled into all the technology. It really is. You know, it used to be you would pull out a map and you would read the map, or you would go online after computers showed up and you would get directions, or you would call the person to where you're going and you would say, do you have directions? Where do you live? And then you'd figure it out. Now, all they do is punch an address into a cell phone and the phone tells them where to go. Now, there are a lot of kids who do that, and then in 3 weeks later, they can't remember how they got there. They have to do the same thing. It's almost as if they've made the decision not to retain information, to let the system tell them. I don't know if that's a result of the government taking over the school system and feeding them just useless information so that they just shut down because they know it's useless. They know they're never going to need it. I don't know if it's a result of that. Or if the kids just don't care. I don't have an answer for that. But I do see that a lot. The dependency on technology as opposed to self-awareness, to common sense is staggering. That's, I just crossed the 60 threshold, and we were old school. You figured stuff out yourself, and then you really knew it, and that's how you built your knowledge base. These kids today, I don't know if it's parenting. I don't know if it's the educational system. I don't know if it's a lack of a spiritual foundation with a lot of young people. I don't exactly know. I mean, I've asked myself these questions as well. And Mornay has told me that we will be discussing that. But that conversation hasn't happened yet. But I'm very concerned about AI. Especially now that it appears they're just pulling out all the stops and trying to shove it all down our throat. So I think it's a sign of the times. I think it's that panic, that desperation of the dark side to just throw everything in the kitchen sink at not only humanity, but in the way of our fast approaching spiritual awakening. Because once that happens, they're done. They are absolutely done. They can no longer hide. They have nowhere to hide. And their ass is grass. Okay? Their ass is grass. So, okay, one more question.
One more question. Okay. The connection between Saturn and CERN.
I've covered that in
okay, from Lauren. What is the connection? You got to go?
I'm sorry, what?
What is the connection between the subconscious mind and universal intelligence?
The subconscious is the ego. That's where we form all kinds of opinions about everything. And if we allow all that chatter, the fear mechanisms, the not good enough mechanisms, I think that keeps us out of the present in the now. When you're constantly conscious of what you're doing and where you are, of what you're thinking. Or as Apollonius of Tyana, Saul of Tarsus once said, constantly be in prayer because then you know where you are. It's very difficult to be manipulated in that way because you're always constantly present. And when you're present, you're aware of everything that's going on around you. Because there is never nothing happening. Never nothing happening. There is always things going on, no matter where you are. It's just a matter of paying attention to it. Yes, ma'am. Guys, the bouncer's here. I gotta go.
Thanks very much, Alex.
We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary journey of self-discovery and cosmic enlightenment with Alex Collier. Your support means the world to us. If you found this video insightful, please show your appreciation by giving it a thumbs up, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the bell icon to receive notifications for future uploads. Doing so lets you stay connected with the latest cosmic revelations and helps us spread Alex Collier's profound teachings to a broader audience. Remember, every like, subscription, and bell click can awaken more minds and ignite a collective shift in consciousness. We encourage you to share your thoughts, reflections, and questions in the comments below, as your engagement fuels the expansion of knowledge and fosters a vibrant community of truth seekers. Together, we can uncover the hidden truths of the universe and embark on a journey of cosmic transformation. Until we meet again, keep seeking, growing, and shining your light in the vast cosmic tapestry. If you would like to see Andromedan contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we host an online seminar every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information and dates of upcoming online seminars, please visit alexcollier.org. Please watch one of the above videos to find out more about Alex's knowledge.